You may begin.
What is the most valuable thing you learned about literature and reading this semester? Would you guys like to share?
The second quarter, I learned that literature can give people new perspectives on like world problems, and it can inspire change.
I learned that literature can really be found everywhere in the English class. Would you guys like to share your ideas?
Well, one thing we learned about that helped me realize this was when we learned about the Martin Luther King speeches and how they inspired large groups of people at a time to come against one big problem with a common goal and change it.
I agree with that. For my evidence, I wrote that literature is written works, especially those considered superior or lasting artistic merit. That being said, almost everything in English is literature, such as our writings, textbooks, and all the websites that we use during class.
I agree with that.
Maybe I said literature is everywhere, and people take it really seriously, and then it come into play sometimes.
I said literature helps people understand things better.
Could you explain that?
Like the civil rights thing. If you read about it, you get more knowledge on it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I also learned that sometimes if literature is interpreted the wrong way, it can mislead people and create problems sometimes. And it doesn't always, it's not a 100% positive thing. An example we've seen in that in current times is when the rally at the Washington, D.C., people ended up causing a lot of problems over there. Those people necessarily didn't interpret whatever message that the president gave them right or wrong. It was more of like a mob mentality thing. And they lost sight of what the real goal was.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree. I think that some people took the messaging wrong and decided that they should just go strong Catholic.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of evidence.
What are your thoughts, Tyler?
I said I think the most valuable thing I learned that literature can help you change your perspective on things.
Could you explain that?
My evidence was when we read To Kill a Mockingbird, my perspective changed on how much people were treated and how things have changed and whether it's still the same.
That's a good point. You guys think we're ready to move on?
I think so.
Alright, I'll read this one. What is the most valuable thing you learned about the writing process?
Writing is useful every day and it helps with different communication skills.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if writing is done right and if you have a consistent routine, that the writing process becomes easier after you do it over and over again. We kind of
I agree with that. Could you explain your evidence on that?
Well, we had a couple papers we wrote this year, and she gave us the format of how a good routine to do it. Once we got, by the end of the semester, we grew as writers. I'm sure as most of us.
I agree with that, and I had something similar. I put that we use multiple outlines and rubrics and brainstorm before we even thought about writing. Then once we were done writing, we peer reviewed, and all of this is part of the process of writing. Because it takes quality time to come up with a good piece of writing.
I agree.
Yeah, I said too. Add on with that, how a good story actually can take a long time, but if you follow a good routine, it can be better at the end.
That's true.
Would you like to share anything, Robbie?
If you follow the guidelines on writing and you kind of review it and look over it multiple times, you can make it have better quality and have better content when you look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually tied into something about that. I was thinking about how when we learned about metacognition at the beginning of the year, if you think about your thinking while you're writing, it can help you realize any mistakes you're making and you grow as a writer.
Good evidence.
Do you have anything to add, Trayden?
Most of my stuff I have written down here is covered.
That's right.
Can you think of anything off the top of your head? If not, that's okay.
All right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, I think so.
What is the most valuable thing you learned about communication this year?
I learned that through good communication, people can come to a collective goal and accomplish their goals in a better way than with poor communication.
I had something similar. What I put was communicating with your teacher is extremely vital to understanding not only each other but also your work. And my evidence for that was, like teachers, students have a life outside of school as well. That being said, sometimes life can interfere with homework or school in general. However, your teacher will not be so understanding if you don't communicate with them.
I put communications like all around included. Because if we don't have communication, people wouldn't know what to do or have an idea of how to do something.
I agree with that. And an example I put is whenever I've done group work in school on a project of any kind, if there's somebody that steps up and kind of makes sure that there's good communication throughout the group, then everything conducts a lot faster and people know what their task is. She gets done better. It's another part.
I agree with that. Like, if communication is really well taken, you can see other people's point of view and interest in their opinion.
Yeah.
So for what I put, since I kind of talked about how communicating with your teacher is important, I put sometimes that life happens. Sometimes you may need to babysit all night or run errands for your parents. Regardless of the circumstances, we're all human beings, and so most teachers should be pretty understanding of this.
Yes.
Would you like to add anything, Tyler?
Communication is important, but the most important thing to me about communication is eye contact. If you're trying to get your point across to someone, you're going to want to make sure that they're focused on you and looking at you.
I agree with that. I think back in time with when we learned about body language, I think. Do you have anything to add, Robbie?
When you communicate, you can make better decisions, and when you don't, you can make multiple mistakes. And when you communicate, you can see it can work very well, and you can see when you make mistakes, you're going to fall off track and you can't get back.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that kind of can tie into what we learned at the beginning of the year with metacognition. If you're in a group and you're thinking a certain way and maybe somebody has their perspective on it and notices it and they'll give you their feedback, you can can grow as a leader and a learner that way. If you know what others think, and that kind of ties into communication.
Would you guys like to move on?
Yeah.
All right. What was the most valuable thing you learned about learning and thinking?
I said that taking your time can be a key factor when learning and thinking.
I said you need to pay attention because if you don't, take up to 24 minutes back on track.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to add off that, if your mind is somewhere else, well, even if you're trying to learn and you're having trouble focusing, your mind is somewhere else and you're worried about something else, it's going to be much harder to learn. And personally, for me, it happens a lot. Whenever I don't find something interesting, it makes learning about it difficult, and I just kind of go off to something else in my mind.
My specific claim was that I learned that metacognition is the understanding of someone's thought process, And my evidence for that was near the beginning of the year, we learned that little things such as being organized, getting proper sleep, and having a set schedule can improve the way you go about your life day to day and can improve your thoughts and metacognition.
I agree with that. We haven't heard much from you yet, Trayton. Would you like to add anything?
I understand what you said. Sometimes you get off track and you think about other personal stuff. And it's hard. It's way harder to learn. I can experience that.
Personally, I feel that when I have a set schedule and get sleep at night, my life is less stressful, which allows me to focus on learning at school.
Yeah, John and Caitlin, sleep is a really important part in school. You don't have enough sleep, and it's kind of hard to focus and keep up with everything that's going into the classroom.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it doesn't even have to do with school. I mean, if you're playing a sport, for instance, you don't get enough sleep, your body doesn't have time to recover. So it really does. It just recharges you as a whole. And a lot of people at our age are sleep deprived because whatever they have going on in their life, they're getting home late or they're staying up late or wherever that may be.
Would you like to add anything, Robbie?
Going off of what CJ said earlier, that happens to me frequently where I get off task and when we're doing something and when it's not really, when I don't really want to learn about it, I kind of get backtracked, start thinking about other things, and then once you do that very frequently, you'll get things backed up and you'll have a lot of assignments to do. So when you try to stay on task or you do things to stay on task like better sleep or things or goals to help you do that, you can get better than that.
I agree.
Ready to move on? What is the most valuable thing you learned about yourself through English 1?
I learned that organizations such as the writing process can really improve the little things in my writing.
I learned that I became a better writer and reader over the past year.
And to add on to that, the writing process really benefited me, even if it was kind of tedious, because it broke down the concepts of literature to help get a deeper understanding of my writing.
Yeah, I agree with that. A point I had was that staying on top of things and not falling behind is really crucial at our age because work is becoming more abundant in school, and staying on top of it can be challenging if you're not keeping up with the day to day.
I agree.
I agree with that also.
Would you like to add something, Tyler?
I said I wasn't a great writer, and it helped me become a better writer. And my evidence was by using writing narratives and our literacy journal, I feel like it helped me become a better writer, and hopefully it'll help me through high school.
You got anything to say about it?
Before I didn't usually write a lot, and once we wrote a little bit and then we did peer reviews in the middle of it to get better, it helped me through that.
I agree with Rob. I think peer reviews is also very helpful when you don't know if you need to add anything and they can give you advice to what to add.
I agree. What are your thoughts, Trey?
I learned that helping your classmates out, like with the rough drafts, you can help them find the kind of mistakes they didn't see, and peer reviews.
I think that using good vocab is also very helpful when trying to write a good essay or story.
And I feel like I really expanded like my vocabulary over this semester too, because we read a bunch of stories that were more advanced than we have previously read.
Yeah, that's true. And I think when you get a hold on the English language like that, when you read stuff earlier, like in To Kill a Mockingbird, where the dialect was different, and even in a different region in the world, that probably wasn't in the Midwest. When you look at the way they spoke, but that can expand your vocabulary if you find good words within their dialect.
getting exposed to like other languages and stuff is really good. So for that stuff. Does anybody else want to add anything?
Alright, okay, just before it went off, the buzzer. Very good. Awesome job. Outside circle, what did the inside circle do well? Peyton?
Did well bringing our ideas out.
Okay, articulating their ideas well. Okay, good. What else? Hunter?
And evidence to support like their claims.
Yeah, specific evidence of things that we did in class, texts that we read, activities that we did. Yeah, good. What else?
They had people learn.
They added people in.
Yes or no question.
What's that?
I said without the yes or no questions.
Was it yes or no questions specifically? The most of them? We had a lot of do you, which is a yes no question, but we did have a number of other types of invitations in. What are your thoughts? That those types of things. So yes, good. Anything else? Outside. Whoops, excuse me. Outside circle. Thank you, Robbie. Could you hear the inside circle? Thank you. Sorry.
Majority of them understand training.
Okay, the people that are facing away and farther away. Okay, so outside circle, you'll want to remember speak up and articulate. That's one of the things that we're learning. Everybody is learning with their masks. All right, so very quickly and quietly, we're going to switch places. Inside circle, when you go outside, you'll be noting, interesting claims and discussion points of this new one, this new route. On the far right column of your discussion prep sheet. Well, you could sit in the middle if you wanted to. Okay, so I don't know what, I'm gonna have to, while you guys are getting set up, I'm gonna look online here and see if I actually these are just.
Xavier's more hip than you know.
I had some. I think you got your head out.
Okay, everybody can hear me. Good.
All right. Second round, you may begin.
What is the most valuable thing you learn about literature and reading?
This year, learn that literature is everywhere, and with the right words, it can either inspire you in the right or wrong way.
I agree with that. And To Kill a Mockingbird, I think that helped understand where literature has originated from. This was most important because it helped us understand our past as a country. We will be able to understand how civil rights and previous historic events have affected literature and reading.
My claim was more focused on the reading part because I felt like if you don't read with enthusiasm or any voice, then you don't really understand how the character's story, like backstory is, or how they act or sound, especially in their own position. Like evidence that I have is if you speak like a robot, then the meaning behind the words won't be able to speak out to you.
I really agree with that because tone really helps, and body language and eye contact and all that really helps with understanding of how you're presenting the words to someone. What do you have, Kobe?
Just on what Dylan said, where you either gotta like speak like that's like a robot, or else like they won't know what you're trying to say. If that makes sense. And that's basically it.
Yeah, Kobe.
Same with Dalton, like if you're talking to somebody and you talk like a robot, then like you have like I don't know, like your personality.
To go on with the reading part of the question, I noticed that like when I was quarantined and we got to choose our own stories to write about and read, I enjoyed that more because I got to choose a topic that I liked more rather than something I was being told to read.
I agree because that would what reading something you like versus what you have to read is very different because you're not everyone's interested really in the same thing.
Are you guys talking about the blog posts or
Yeah, the blogger.
Oh yeah,
When we
I
did,
like
the
that a lot
writers'
because you're able to pick like your own interests instead of reading about like some geography thing. It'd be really boring.
Caleb, do you have anything to add?
Or what do you have? What's your point?
Retaining information.
Elaborate, please.
Just retaining it helps you.
What was your evidence?
Remembering like the racism and stuff from the civil rights thing.
Hunter, do you have anything?
Overall, just there's those.
Are you guys ready for the next question?
Yes, we are. Yes.
What is the most valuable thing you learned about the writing process? I noticed that when you find your own rhythm or like your favorite way of writing, you seem to like get into it more. And I noticed that I like writing with an outline, so I can just write all my stuff down, and then I can delete what I need, and it'll be all put together.
I believe the most valuable thing I've learned about the writing process is that it's a very long process, but each part is valuable, such as the brainstorming and getting everything laid out before. For example, like protagonists and scenes and rough drafts. And then I also think that peer reviews and revisions help, and then you come and you have like a way better writing than you did before with all the revisions and help with other people's opinions.
Yeah, I think the most valuable of the writing process is definitely the prep sheet because I feel like without the prep sheet, before when I've done a couple of writings, it'll take me like 20 minutes to figure out like how I want to talk about or not how, but what I want to talk about. But with that prep sheet, if I do it like a day before, I can just scroll up a little bit, already know what I'm going to say, go back down and finalize it. It takes way less time.
To add on to that, I think like peer reviews was really helpful to get like a second opinion or third. And like writing down your scenes and protagonists has really helped me.
Yeah, like in our recent narrative, it helped me understand that learning process is. It shows how long it takes. It shows how necessary each step is.
Get a little bit.
Reading different kinds of writing can help you with your writings that you do.
What is your claim, Brian?
The peer review does help, or it is good because when you're writing and you what do you call it? And you like read it yourself, it might sound good, but to other people, it might be a little different. So it's better if you get other people's opinions from it, so then you can make it better.
Yeah, I like seeing different points of view from someone else's. Yeah. But yeah, Cody.
Like this was drawing because like you never like when we did the vlogs, how other people like judged it, and then like you had to go back and fix what you had to add more detail and stuff.
What do you have?
What you guys said about the peer review having like more opinions under how do you revise it? Or you want to get better? Alright, next question. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the most valuable thing you learned about in communication? I think most valuable part was eye contact for sure, because there was a time I was on the phone with someone and I was reading like a quote from a paragraph, and I finished the paragraph and they were like, "Are you talking to me?" So basically, I read it all. They didn't know what I was talking about. I feel like if I was actually in person with them, looking at them, they would have known that I was talking to them and not just someone else.
I like that. Eye contact and body language is very valuable in ways of communication, just as tone is. And I believe that masks have made it a lot harder to understand each other, and they're just in the way. in my opinion.
I think that like facial expressions and the way you say something can like either make or break you. 'Cause you can say something really nicely to someone but have a harsh or like rude face and they could take it. They wouldn't know how to take it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with masks. That it makes it harder to see people's facial expressions, because there's a lot of it's with your eyes, but some of it helps with your.
And yeah.
Speaking about your opinion can help you speak more fluently and confidence.
There are something allowed. Toby, what do you have?
No, I just wrote that communication is key to everything and everything you do, basically. Or she don't know what you're doing.
On like the topic of like writing an essay rather than like being face to face with someone, including dialogue and how they said something is important to see, like so how your reader I don't know how to explain it. So your reader knows how the person's saying it.
So kind of like imagery. So all in all, it's basically a lot of it's with your eyes and your face and communication. It's very key in understanding one another. What is the most valuable thing you learned about learning and thinking? The most important thing I've learned about learning and thinking is repetition is the best thing to learn and remember, because if you have to memorize like a speech or something, you don't really get to look at a paper a lot of the times or memorize something on slides. You don't get to look directly off the paper. You have to keep repeating it until you get the full thing and be able to just talk it all out.
I agree with that. And if you really want to learn something, I think it's important to have like an open or free mind so that you just like focus like strictly on that and you're not like just dozing off to anything else.
I feel like that.
In this question, I mainly focused on the thinking part, but that's because I feel like the metacognition portion of English was like very important, because I feel like I would use that every day, and it's helped me process information in my head before I say something that would sound dumb. I can kind of reword it in my head by thinking like, would this not sound funny or something like that.
I agree.
Overall.
Metacognition unit helped us understand our thinking and create better ways for us to think and interact with one another. What do you have on that?
I thought that like brainstorming before stories helped with thinking about what we want to turn most of like these.
I agree. The brainstorming helped us lay out everything before we even put it in an outline or figure everything out like what we're gonna write. It's just a big brainstorm.
Caleb, what do you have?
I just sleep stuff. You don't sleep enough. Not more.
Alright.
Please elaborate or show more of that.
What's your
I didn't say
evidence?
stuff.
Yes, that's very
Okay, what's your evidence?
Kind of makes you like lazy eye or something and go to sleep. You can't really think.
Yeah, your body's just on shutdown like basically is everything. So.
Yep.
What do you have, Cody?
I had like the same as Amnesty. Like, if you don't pay attention, then you're not gonna know what you're doing, and you're gonna be behind, and you're just gonna have more hands on top of you.
Yeah, that's kind of like what they said in the last discussion. If you don't have enough sleep, you're not going to be able to think properly, and your mind's going to be somewhere else. So then you can't really focus, and then you get backed up on all your work, and you just keep piling on more work and more work.
It's not even just sleep. Like if you're thinking about anything else.
Yeah, like just in class, and you're just off thinking about something else. You're not always going to be engaged in class. It's just not going to happen. We have Brian.
Just kind of what you said, that what you said, that you're not always gonna be on topic because there's always something else going around you, and no matter how hard you try, you're never gonna be able to focus because there's always something going around. And yeah, that's basically it.
I agree, because you always have different at-home lives, and it makes it hard to balance everything, and you're not going to be able to pay attention for a whole 90 minutes. It's basically impossible.
I think a good way to tie up the sleeping portion of this discussion is kind of like the phone, where 100% is, you're doing good, you listen, but then when you get down to the 20s, I know some phones have the low power mode, where then you start kind of like just not doing anything, but you're still able to stay awake. And I think that's like you don't want to get down there because then you kind of start half-assing things.
I like how you put that. Put that with the phone. That's a different deal. Ready to move on?
Yep, next one.
What is the most valuable thing you learned about yourself through English 1 this year?
I learned that organization is really important, ranging from having all your things for class to having the right writing process to put together to have a good piece of writing.
I agree. Organization. You start from the bottom. And organization is a big part of it. And then you just have everything right there. But I believe the most valuable thing I've learned in English 1 would probably be writing down ideas and doing your literacy journals, because the routine just helps you in becoming a better writer. They may not be fun at the time, but they're beneficial and help me become a better writer. As I said, it helps you stay in a routine and help you get your ideas down. Also, Socratic discussions, because no matter what you say, getting your ideas out there will be beneficial to your group, and everyone will understand what you've learned or how you feel on a certain question that was brought up.
My answer.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. My answer's a little vague, but I feel like when I first started English, I had like a broad understanding of everything, but I feel like this semester we've gone way more into depth about almost everything that I have known for English. So deeper into basics.
Deeper into basics. I like that. And I like the analogy of the our brains going into low power mode like phones.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
good.
That'll be good.
I never really thought of
That's true though. Yeah, that's good. All right. Wonderful job, guys. Outside circle. What did the inside circle do well this time?
They got everybody involved.
Yep, got everybody involved.
Oh, they're pretty loud.
Okay, good.
I think Kate did a good job stepping up and kind of conducting conversations, involving others and making sure that they understood that their opinions need to be heard on that.
Okay, and what was one way that this group in particular got some of the quieter people to speak? What they ask specifically?
What did we say?
What
their claim was?
Yeah, specifically, what was your claim? Which helps us draw explicitly on the preparation. So, which is, we need that help sometimes. When we prepare and then we forget that we prepare and start going off without it, we're doing ourselves an injustice. So that little nudge to, hey, use what you prepared was good. Yeah, good. What else? What else did they do well? Outside circle. What they do well?
They make good analogies.
Yeah, had some very good claims.
Really good guys to back up the
claims and
They displayed a lot of information.
A lot of information, a lot of claims, specific claims, and specific evidence. That is the meat of a conversation. And then when you can glue that together with your connection statements, you get so much bigger and deeper of a collective understanding. Easton, were you going to say something else?
Yeah, they talk a lot about like the rhythm and routine of what's helping about the show.
Yeah, which is good. It's something that I definitely wanted you to benefit from. All right, you guys have grown in your skills. I'm so glad to have had the opportunity to teach you and to see you grow like this. I love it. Okay, so you will be reflecting on at the end of your, or bottom, I should say, of your discussion prep sheet, questions 5, 6, 7, and 8. Remember, what's the most interesting claim? Articulate that in 5. Evaluate the speaker's point of view in 6. And then your strengths. What did you do well this time in number 7? And number 8 asks specifically, you've done this before, it asks specifically about what your goal is for improvement in your next Socratic discussions. I hope that you have other classes in which you do conduct Socratic discussions. But if not, remember, you are our nation's hope in unifying our country with good discussion that brings people together. So whether it's in another class, whether it's at your dinner table at home, or it's out anywhere talking with anyone, use these skills. Okay, so number 8, what are some things that you know you need to strengthen in order to do that? All right, great job, guys.
Yep, great job. Great job.
I like your